Once upon a time, there was a comely young maiden, clever, patient, and just a little tired of failure. There was a patch in her family's garden where nothing would grow, no matter what she planted. The tiny creatures in the soil would eat it all, leaving behind nothing but chewed seeds and disappointment. But one day an idea struck her. She turned to her father and said, "Let's plant cassava. It just might survive in that stubborn patch." Her father paused, then nodded. Cassava was planted. And slowly, quietly, it took root. The pests left it alone. The soil accepted it. It grew. And today, we're turning it into fufu. And if that's something you're interested in, then keep on watching. Okay, so this wasn't the plan. I was going to start this video from showing the full, grown out patch of land that we had the cassava growing on, but I started filming, or got the idea to film a bit late. So this is where the cassava grew, basically mostly. So this is it cleared. The cassava has been harvested. These are the cut stems. We've replanted a few, but it's a lot, so can't really plant them all. And this was where the peeling went down. And the harvest was quite bountiful, if you ask me. These were the average sizes that came out of the ground. Just kept this few aside to use it for something else. But yeah, that's the cassava that came out of that patch of land. Now, this is my dad here. He's just, trying to cut the larger sizes into smaller bits to give it a better chance at absorption. This has already been washed, but we're just trying to cut it into smaller pieces. And the cassava is going to be soaked for 7 days. We soak ours for 7 days. I know that there are some species that you can soak longer, but to be honest, we don't know exactly what we grew. So for the cyanotic content in the cassava to be at permissible, edible levels or non-existent, we just prefer to soak for 7 days to be on the safe side. Now, these tubers were massive compared to when we harvested the first time. I think the first harvest was like 2 or 3 weeks before this particular harvest. But yeah, so I am not showing everything, but this is the cut up cassava soaked and covered. I'm going to cover this for 7 days. Now, mind you, we don't add anything when we are soaking our cassava, just the cassava and clean water covered in an aerated place. So this is outside. This is just by the tap. So I'm just going to cover this for 7 days. And that's that. Now, it's 7 days after, and this is what the cassava looks like. A lot of it, or should I say, it floated on like day 3 or day 4, and we had some uninvited guests. So it made the sieving process a bit harder than what I anticipated, I was going to do. So yeah. Now, I've watched so many videos here, and the sieve basket used for the cassava is obviously bigger than this, but this is what we have at home. So this is what I'm going to use. Now, the cassava is soft enough that all I need to do is to get out the shaft. And it's just fairly easy. I started off with a clean bowl and started picking each soaked piece one by one and just mashing it up using the sieve to catch the shaft. I'm also using clean water to wash down the pulp so that I have a dry pulp. This is optional, but I try as much as possible to get as much of the pulp out of the shaft because the shaft ain't going nowhere. So yeah, just using clean water to clean out the shaft. And from the videos I watched, I'm going to be using this water to wash out the remaining Now, I noticed that we had some uninvited guests in the water, and I was mentioning it to my dad that I would have to sieve it a second time because we had an agreement that I wasn't going to do a second sieve or pass it through a finer sieve to leave some of the shaft in there for fiber, but I ended up sieving it a second time. Yeah. So it's fairly easy. Once your cassava is soft enough, it should pass through any sieve, and just make sure you wash it until you have a very dry shaft. So this is bowl one. I'm going to keep washing until now that I'm on to the second bowl. And I think I've only used like 10 liters of water so far, in addition to what I'm getting out the pulp. So, like I said, it's very easy to wash. Just get the soft cassava, pass it through the sieve, make sure you wash it until the pulp starts feeling dry, and you have your fufu pulp washed into the water. It's that easy. I didn't think it was, because I mean the process itself is a bit time consuming, but you have to put your back into it and get the job done. So I'm just going to go ahead to finish this second bowl, washing out all the shaft. Now I know that, or I've heard that goats can eat the shaft. So if you have livestock, then it would be a win-win type food situation for them. So just keep washing and keep pulping until you're done with everything you soaked. So I'm going to finish up this second bowl before I move on to a fine sieve and sieve it for a second time. Now, I will warn you that this process is extremely smelly. This is, after all, 7 days in, is 7 days fermentation. So my hands were smelling for like 2, 3 days after doing this. And I was so self conscious when I was going to work. I had perfumes and body sprays and body mists all over just to get the smell off my hands. So if you're not comfortable using your hands to do this, then get you a kitchen glove to, keep your hands fresh, away from the smell. And I don't typically eat with my hands, so this was quite the experience, if you ask me. So just keep washing until you have, like I said, dry shaft, and you know that you have gotten all the pulp out of the product. That's me. Now, this is what I have after everything has been done. I finished sieving. This is all the shaft I got from all that cassava that we soaked at the beginning of this video. And this is the final sieved product. I did pass it through a finer sieve to get all the visitors that we did not want in there. And this is the fufu itself in liquid form. Now, we didn't take this to any mill, we didn't grind this, we didn't do anything to the cassava other than to soak it. So I guess different tribes and, different ways that this is made. I've seen some videos where the cassava is milled or grated before being soaked, and a whole lot of processes. So different tribes, different processes. The water is already settling here. So it's just going to mix this up and then move on to the next step in this entire process. At this point, I'm very tired. I think it's already showing on my face because this is a very time consuming process. And the very first time we did this, we didn't process this much, but this is a bit much. For a second timer. So what's left is for me to sieve this, or should I say to bag this like you would when making ogi, pap, corn, or millet. And for that, I'm using this itty bitty salt bag. If you were born in the 80s, then you'd remember that our salt came in bags. But if you have a muslin cloth bag or a cheesecloth bag, then it would be ideal when making or bagging fufu. I'm going to do that and show you just a part of the process on camera, and then finish it up and then show you the finished product, the fufu itself. But if you wanted to try this at home, if you have the space to grow cassava, then I would suggest that you do that. It's an amazing process to behold, from the root crop of from the plant itself to the harvest to the preparation. It's something that is wholesome. When you have the opportunity to farm your own food, it's a wholesome experience, a wholesome feeling. So I'm going to bag this and then just see how it comes out. So yeah, I'll see you at the end of this video. Now, like I said before, if I had a bigger bag, this entire thing wouldn't have taken me as long as it did. But it is what it is, and I have to make do with what I have. Now, I'm passing almost the settled part. It's almost water, but that is where the starch that we use for our clothes and the starch that some tribes eat, this milky water is where the starch comes out from. So I'm just getting the bag ready to receive the pulp, and it's easier when the bag is already wet, with water and everything. So I'm passing this, pouring this in. Now, depending on how fine the cassava is, this might take a minute or two to drain out, or should I say a couple of hours. So I'm going to help it along with the first and the second bag, because I actually bagged this 3 times, and the second bag, I think I finished putting the second bag in around 1 or 2 a.m. Yes, but this is the first bag going in. I'm going to fill this as much as I can, and I'm going to get out as much water as I can with this first pour, so that I can move the pouring along and then get more into the bag all at once. Now, this bowl I'm pouring from actually is the lighter sediment or sedimentation. So it has more water than it has the actual content or the fufu itself. So I want to make sure that I get as much of that water out so that it can start settling for starch before focusing on other things. So yeah, I'm just going to keep doing this, getting as much of the water out by squeezing the bag, and then going to try to figure out how to tie it as full as I want to make the bag. So yeah, this is one step that you cannot afford to skip, because you have to get as much water out of it to bag the fufu before you decide to either keep it in the freezer or sun dry it or air dry it or dehydrate. But you still have to get all the water out, and that water is gold. Like I said, it is starch. So we're going to get starch to starch our clothes instead of buying in the market, even though we have already bought. But yeah, so I've gotten enough water out of the bag to add more. So I'm just going to do that and keep adding until I'm able to tie the bag. And so yes, I've been able to tie the bag. So first bag tied, I'm just going to keep this to drain and keep collecting the water to keep aside for starch. Now this was the second bag. This was around 2 a.m. And this is how it's going to drip all through the night until I have a semi-dry concentrate left inside the bag. So it's literally the next day. That bag has been draining since like 1 or 2 a.m. and it's time to pour it out. I did pour the first one out of camera. So this second bag, obviously, it's like 9 or 8 a.m. in the morning. So it's time for me to pour out this bag. And the longer you leave it to drain, the firmer fufu you have. If I were in a commercial setting, then this can go straight onto the fire to be made. But because obviously we're going to keep this, this I guess is dry enough. I don't want it too dry. I want it to have some moisture. But yeah, this is the finished product. This is the fufu, authentic, made by a Yoruba girl fufu. Ironically, the bag is from the cassava brand, chemical chemical company. So cassava brand, bagging cassava. The irony. So yeah, this is the fufu finished. Hi. So that was me unbagging the first batch of the finished product, the fufu itself. Um, this has between probably 10 to 15% moisture, I'm estimating. But this is how I'm going to bag this, portion it into smaller sizes and keep this in the freezer. And whenever I want to make it, I will just defrost and then make this. But that's just that. So this is the sum total of the entire process, from the harvest to the peeling of the cassava to the fermentation. We fermented this for 7 days, to the sieving, to the bagging, and now to the packing, and off to the freezer it goes. Now, this gives me peace of mind knowing that I am eating an exceptional product that came from the collective works of everyone at home. Everyone pitched in, from the planting to the harvesting to the washing to the packing. It's a family thing. So if you have the space, like I said before, this is something you should consider as a family. If you know you cannot go through the entire process yourself, hire people that can, and make yourself a beautiful, well made, handled, hygienic meal at home. I'm thinking I'm probably going to get like between, let's say, 5 to 7 kg of finished product from this, but I will put the final weight on the screen when I finished weighing and packing everything into the freezer. This is fairly easy to preserve. All you need to do is pack in small quantities, put it in your freezer, and defrost when you want to make it. Make sure it's totally devoid of ice before you start trying to turn this on fire. I'm a Yoruba girl. We have the way we make ours. If you are from the east or from the west, or should I say the east, the deltas, the Igbos, they have a way they make theirs as well. So yeah, I'll probably put a picture of the finished product with what we're going to eat it with, obviously, but it's just refreshing knowing that this came from, the land. We tilled it, we worked it, and it's on our table, and it's a good feeling. So that's it. I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and keep eating healthy, keep eating right, keep your gut as healthy as you can possibly get it to be.